28 points per game, 52% shooting, leading the Lakers in almost every meaningful category. And yet, there are whispers starting to circulate that could shake the foundation of everything we've built this season. What's up, Lakers Nation? Welcome back to Lakers News Fan Report, your home for the latest breaking news, insider updates, and everything happening with our beloved Los Angeles Lakers. I'm here to bring you the kind of analysis and information that keeps you ahead of the curve, the stories that matter, and the perspectives you won't find anywhere else. And today, I need to talk to you about something that's been gaining traction in NBA circles, something that involves one of our brightest young stars, and a scenario that honestly feels almost unthinkable right now. Look, I've been doing this for a long time, and I've learned that in professional basketball, nothing is ever truly off the table. The league is constantly evolving, rosters are always in flux, and sometimes the moves that seem impossible in November become reality by February. But what I'm about to discuss with you goes beyond typical trade speculation. This is about the future direction of our franchise, about the value we place on homegrown talent versus established superstars, and about whether we're truly maximizing the assets we have on this roster. Before I dive into the specifics, I need you to understand the context here. The Lakers are in a fascinating position right now. We've got LeBron James still performing at an elite level despite being in his 22nd season. We've got Anthony Davis when healthy, who remains one of the most dominant two-way forces in basketball. And then we've got this young core that's been developing right before our eyes. Players who've gone from role players to legitimate contributors to, in some cases, borderline stars in their own right. And speaking of that development, there's one name that stands above all the others. One player who's made the leap from undrafted free agent to absolutely indispensable piece of our championship aspirations. A guy who's averaging career highs across the board and playing with the kind of confidence and skill that has people around the league taking notice. I'm talking about someone who's become so valuable to our system that the thought of him wearing any other jersey feels wrong on a fundamental level. But here's where things get complicated, and this is why I needed to make this video today. There's been some interesting discussion coming out of Dallas recently. The Mavericks are in a transitional phase themselves, trying to figure out their identity after some significant roster changes. And according to some analysis that's been making the rounds, there are people who believe that Dallas made a critical error in their recent team-building decisions. Not because of who they acquired, but because of who they didn't target. Now, before anyone panics, let me be crystal clear about something. There are no active trade discussions happening right now. There are no reports of the Lakers shopping anyone. This is purely analytical speculation based on what could have been and what theoretically could still happen down the line. But the fact that this conversation is even being had tells you something important about the perception of value around the league right now. The core of this discussion centers around Austin Reaves, our Austin Reaves, number 15. The kid from Arkansas who's become one of the most improved players in the entire NBA this season. And the speculation goes like this. When Dallas was making their recent moves, they should have been targeting Reaves instead of the player they actually acquired. They should have been building their future around a young ascending guard who can create, score, facilitate, and defend at a high level. Let me break down why this matters and why Lakers fans need to be paying attention to this narrative. Reaves is having an absolutely monster season. 28.1 points per game, 5.7 rebounds, 6.6 assists, 1.2 steals. He's shooting 51.9% from the field and 36.4% from three on over 7 attempts per game. These aren't just good numbers, these are all NBA caliber numbers. These are the kinds of statistics that make other teams salivate. And here's the thing that should concern us when you look at Reaves' performance in games where LeBron sits or when AD is out. His numbers somehow get even better. He's shown the ability to be a legitimate number one option, to carry the offensive load, to make plays down the stretch when games are on the line. That's incredibly rare for a player on a rookie-scale extension. That's the kind of talent that teams would mortgage significant assets to acquire. So when people in Dallas are looking back at their recent decisions and saying they should have targeted Reaves instead of going in a different direction, that's not just hindsight bias. That's recognition of what Reaves has become and what he projects to be in the future. He's 23 years old with room to grow. He's on a team-friendly contract for the next several years, and he's already performing at a level that most lottery picks never reach. Now, let's talk about what a hypothetical Reaves to Dallas scenario would have looked like and why it's relevant to us as Lakers fans. For the money to work in any deal involving Reaves, Dallas would have had to include multiple contracts. We're talking about guys like Jared Vanderbilt, Gabe Vincent, potentially others just to match salaries. But more importantly, they would have had to include significant draft compensation, multiple first-round picks, maybe pick swaps, maybe young players with upside. And here's where this gets really interesting from our perspective. If Dallas was willing to pay that kind of price for Reaves, what does that tell us about his market value? What does that tell us about what other teams around the league might be willing to offer if they thought he was available? Because make no mistake, there are probably a dozen teams right now who would love to build their franchise around a player with Reaves's skill set and trajectory. The Mavericks are currently struggling to find their identity. They made a big move recently that hasn't panned out the way they hoped, largely due to injuries and fit issues. Meanwhile, they're watching Reaves put up numbers in Los Angeles that could have been happening in Dallas if they'd made different decisions. They're watching him develop chemistry with LeBron and AD, watching him become a cornerstone piece of a championship contender, and they're probably wondering what could have been. But here's what I want Lakers fans to understand. This isn't just about Dallas looking back with regret. This is about the broader NBA landscape, recognizing what we have in Austin Reaves. This is about other front offices doing their due diligence and trying to figure out if there's any scenario where the Lakers would consider moving him. And that should both excite us and concern us. It should excite us because it confirms what we've been saying all season. Reaves is special. He's not just a nice complementary player or a solid role guy. He's a legitimate building block, someone you can construct a championship roster around. The fact that other teams are looking at him with envy should make us appreciate what we have even more. But it should also concern us because in the NBA, when a player's value gets this high, teams start making calls. General managers start exploring possibilities. And while I don't believe for a second that Rob Pelinka is actively shopping Austin Reaves, I also know that in this league, everything has a price. If someone came to us with a Godfather offer, something so overwhelmingly good that it would be irresponsible to turn down, would we have to at least consider it? Let's game out what that might look like. Imagine a team offering us multiple unprotected first-round picks, multiple pick swaps, and a young all-star caliber player in return for Reaves. Imagine an offer so good that it would set us up for the next decade. That would give us the flexibility to build around AD long-term while also restocking our draft capital that we've depleted over the years. Would that be enough to make us think twice? I want to be clear about my position here. I don't think we should trade Austin Reaves under any circumstances. I think he's exactly the kind of player you need to win championships in the modern NBA. He can play on or off the ball. He's a high-level shooter. He's an underrated playmaker. He's improved his defense every single season, and most importantly, he's got that intangible winning quality that you can't teach. He makes winning plays. He shows up in big moments. He's got ice in his veins. Plus, and this is crucial, he's on one of the best contracts in the entire league. 4 years, $56 million. That's nothing for a player of his caliber. That's the kind of value that allows you to build a championship roster because you're getting all-star level production at a fraction of what you'd normally pay. That contract is an asset in itself, and it's one of the reasons why other teams are so interested in him. But let's talk about the Dallas angle specifically, because there's an interesting lesson here about team building and asset management. The speculation is that Dallas targeted the wrong Lakers player in their recent moves. They went for an older, more established star when they should have been targeting the younger ascending player. They prioritized immediate impact over long-term value. And now they're in a position where they're struggling to compete, while watching the player they should have targeted thrive with their rival. This is exactly the kind of mistake that can set a franchise back years. When you're making major roster decisions, you have to think beyond just the next season. You have to consider age curves, injury history, contract situations, and how players fit into your long-term vision. Dallas apparently didn't do that calculus correctly, and now they're paying the price while we're reaping the benefits. For us as Lakers fans, this should reinforce something important. We need to protect our young assets. We need to be very careful about trading away players like Austin Reaves, even if it means we might not maximize LeBron's final years. Because the reality is that LeBron is 40 years old. He's not going to play forever, as much as it pains me to say that. And when he does eventually retire, we're going to need young talent to build around. We're going to need players who can carry the franchise into the next era. Austin Reaves could be that player. He's already shown that he can be a number one option when needed. He's already proven that he can perform on the biggest stages. He's got the mentality, the skill set, and the work ethic to be a franchise cornerstone for the next decade. Trading him for short-term help would be incredibly short-sighted, even if it meant adding another star to play alongside LeBron and AD right now. And let's talk about fit for a moment, because that's another reason why Reaves is so valuable to us specifically. He's the perfect complementary player to LeBron and AD. He doesn't need the ball in his hands constantly to be effective. He can play off others, he can spot up and shoot, he can cut and move without the ball. But when you do give him the ball and ask him to create, he's more than capable of doing that too. That versatility is incredibly rare and incredibly valuable. If he went to Dallas or any other team, he'd probably put up even gaudier numbers because he'd have a higher usage rate. He'd be the primary ball handler, the guy they'd run everything through. And while that would be great for his individual statistics and his next contract, it wouldn't necessarily be better for winning basketball. Sometimes the best situation for a player is one where they can excel within a defined role while also having opportunities to showcase their full skill set. That's exactly what Reaves has with us. He's got LeBron and AD to take some of the pressure off, but he's also got plenty of opportunities to show what he can do as a primary creator. It's the best of both worlds, and it's a big reason why he's having such an incredible season. He's not being asked to do too much, but he's also not being limited in any way. He's thriving in an environment that plays to his strengths, while also allowing him to develop new aspects of his game. Now, I know some of you might be thinking, if teams like Dallas are this interested in Reaves, doesn't that mean we could potentially flip him for a massive haul that would make us better right now? And theoretically, yes, that's possible. But here's what you'd be giving up. A 23-year-old who's improving every single season, who's on a bargain contract, who fits perfectly with your current stars, and who could be the face of your franchise when LeBron retires. That's not something you trade away lightly. The Mavericks are apparently learning this lesson the hard way. They had a chance to build around a young, dynamic guard, and they chose a different path. Now they're watching that guard become one of the best players in the league while their own situation remains uncertain. That's the kind of mistake that can haunt a franchise for years, and it's exactly the kind of mistake we need to avoid making. So where does this leave us? Well, first and foremost, it leaves us incredibly fortunate to have Austin Reaves on our roster. It leaves us in a position where we have a young star who's only going to get better, who's already contributing at an elite level, and who's locked in on a team-friendly deal for years to come. That's a luxury that most teams don't have, and we should appreciate it. But it also leaves us with a decision to make about our future direction. Are we going all in on maximizing LeBron's final years, even if it means potentially trading young assets? Or are we taking a more balanced approach, trying to compete now while also building for the future. Based on everything I know about Rob Pelinka and the Lakers front office, I believe they're trying to do both. They want to win now, but they also understand the importance of maintaining long-term flexibility, and keeping Austin Reaves is central to that strategy. He allows us to compete for championships right now, while also giving us a foundation to build on when LeBron eventually retires. He's the bridge between this era and the next one. Trading him would be sacrificing the future for a marginal improvement in the present. And that's just not a trade-off that makes sense for a franchise with championship aspirations both now and down the road. Lakers Nation, I want to hear from you on this one. How would you feel if the team actually considered trading Austin Reaves? Do you think there's any offer out there that would be worth it, or is he completely untouchable in your mind? And what do you make of Dallas apparently regretting not targeting him in their recent moves? Does that make you appreciate what we have even more? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, because this is exactly the kind of discussion that our community thrives on. Before I let you go, make sure you're subscribed to Lakers News Fan Report if you haven't already. Hit that notification bell so you never miss a breaking update, because I'm bringing you everything you need to know about our Los Angeles Lakers. Smash that like button if you agree that Austin Reaves should be untouchable, and share this video with your fellow Lakers fans who need to be part of this conversation. This is the kind of in-depth analysis and insider perspective you'll only find right here on this channel. We're building something special together, a community of passionate Lakers fans who want more than just surface-level coverage. Stay locked in, stay engaged, and let's continue watching Austin Reaves prove why he's one of the most valuable young players in the entire NBA. Lake Show for life, let's go. Lakers!